let me ask you, Christy Greenberg, let's just put the MAGA lens on this story for a second. And two of the things that those leading MAGA figures, including Donald Trump's son, a few of the things they've asked for, put on your big boy pants and fire the pedophiles, will go down as my favorite. But there are some specifics. They wanted flight logs and they wanted a black book. This is what my colleagues at NBC News have reported on what the flight logs and the black book show when it comes to Donald Trump. Flight logs show two instances of Donald Trump's name appearing. And again, I'm only raising flight logs because it's one of the things they want disclosed in MAGA world. Flight logs they want released. Some of them were released in 2021 as part of Maxwell's trial. But Trump has denied that he was ever on Epstein's plane. So this might be one of the points of tension in terms of what MAGA has demanded be released, what has become not a policy request, not a platform, but almost a religion for MAGA. That's one of the things they want. Another thing they talk about a lot is Epstein's black book. It sounds like it's just an address book, but I guess black book sounds more illicit. And in 2015, Gawker published a version of that, and the address book included numerous phone numbers and emails for Donald Trump. Again, I'm accusing Donald Trump of anything. I'm just speaking to two of the things that MAGA is demanding. One, flight logs. Two, the black book. We know Donald Trump appears in both of them. What is your understanding of why Maureen Comey was fired yesterday?
I don't think Maureen Comey knows why she was fired yesterday. There was no reason given. It's pretty cowardly to fire somebody and not tell them why. It's also, I mean, there are in this country protections for civil servants, and Donald Trump has this view of the executive that he can just fire anybody whenever he wants. And that is not the law. And so I would hope that Maureen Comey fights, just like we saw Liz Oyer, the pardon attorney in the Mel Gibson situation. She has filed a suit for wrongful termination. Maureen Comey should do the same thing. You have to give a reason. There is a due process in this country. When you're getting fired from a government job, you should be given a reason. You should be able to appeal that. And so she doesn't know. I have my suspicions, just given the timing of all of this. We see Donald Trump taking a ton of heat about these Epstein files and why they weren't released. You have a number of the people in his MAGA base who are upset about that. And one of the people that they've constantly talked about is Maureen Comey. And now maybe he's using her as a fall guy of sorts. But if that's the road he goes down.
Can I just stop you on the logic? So they haven't been released, and Maureen Comey is in the government not releasing them. So who's more vested in her staying than Donald Trump?
Yeah, there's no logic to it other than to say, look over here. Don't look at me. Don't blame me. Blame her. Just like he's blaming Democrats who weren't even around when this investigation was initiated. December 2018. That was when the Epstein investigation was opened. That's in Jeffrey Berman's book. That's public knowledge. It was charged July of 2019. He died in August of 2019. None of the Democrats were around at this point. I mean, Biden wasn't in office at that point. So, all of this is nonsense. And I think he is just trying to deflect blame in any way he can. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be true. And again, if that's where he's going with this, if that's what the timing suggests, that he's going to pick a fight with Maureen Comey, he picked the wrong person to have a fight with. She is tough as nails. She's incredibly competent. As you can tell from the email that she sent to her colleagues, she is not one to back down. She is not one to be afraid. So if he wants a fight, bring it on, because I think he's not going to like what happens.
David French, you wrote the single best piece in explaining and illuminating. I don't know if illuminating and Jeffrey Epstein scandal go in the same sentence, but informing my understanding of this. Your piece actually sent me on a journey. I listened to Joe Rogan this week. I watched hours of Megyn Kelly. And what your piece explains is that the betrayal on cost of living for tariffs or foreign policy even, it isn't this thing they're willing to, I don't want to be dramatic and say die for, but it isn't this thing they're willing to fight for with the passion that they'll fight for Epstein because there's something righteous in their minds about this pursuit. Explain.
Yeah. One thing that's important to know is this narrative of wealthy people exploiting children and trafficking children is sort of a core element of the hardcore MAGA base, that one of the reasons why they're in this to begin with is to end child trafficking. And this Epstein case really kind of perfectly fit within their worldview. And there's a small version of the Epstein case, which is the one that we know, which is very, very troubling and requires more investigation and more answers. Who all was involved? What were all of the details of the abuse? How did this person become so well connected? There's a lot we don't know, but I would call that the small version of the Epstein story. A lot of MAGA believes what I would call the big version of the Epstein story, that Epstein is essentially the key that unlocks the reality of the global pedophile conspiracy, sort of this, I would call it like thinking man's QAnon conspiracy. And a lot of people who are deep, deep in MAGA, one of the reasons why they support Trump is they have been promised, they have been told that his purpose is to defeat child trafficking. I know this sounds strange to people. I know, especially given all of his connections that you walked through to Epstein. What? Donald Trump? This is why he was put on this earth? But a lot of people have grown to believe that. And it's one reason why they have clung to him so much. If you think that this man is an instrument of vengeance against a global a global cabal of pedophiles, you're going to be willing to overlook and forgive a lot as long as he stays on task and on mission. And so this is one of the reasons why a lot of MAGA figures have not fallen in line immediately, because this goes to the very core idea of why they're in this in the first place. And so you've had a number of people who have stood up, and you've also seen something very curious, which is Donald Trump tweeting something or posting something on Truth Social and getting just from rank and file users of Truth Social, people who are ordinarily his key supporters, just absolutely becoming volcanically angry. And this is not something that we have seen very much of. And the one last thing about this that is interesting, Trump has lied to MAGA a lot over the course of the last 10 years. But when he lies to MAGA, he tends to lie to them in ways that they want. He tells them things they want to hear. The Russia investigation never should have happened, or the election was stolen. These are things that would reinforce their priors. The deception here is not welcome at all, especially after so many MAGA figures spent 2024, the lead up to the 2024 election, just promising all of this transparency, especially after Bondi said in response to a question about the list, saying it's on my desk for my review. And then later, unsigned memorandum says there's no list, no blackmail. Epstein died by suicide. So this is a situation where MAGA feels lied to on a matter of core importance. Now, let's not get hasty and say that means they're going to abandon Trump. I mean, maybe some people will. But I do think this is a real preview of how viciously MAGA can fight amongst itself. And once Trump is gone after this term, what's the future? Because he's brought a bag of scorpions under the same tent, and they're going to fight each other.